I am Chief Condra Ridley, a local contemporary griot. I've been sharing stories of African history and culture for 35 years, and it has been my pleasure to be able to just give you just a spoonful of some of the richness of the African American culture and music. On June 7th, 1979, President Jimmy Carter decreed that June would be known as Black Music Month. Amazing, a whole month to be devoted to appreciating the music that was created by the descendants of the captured Africans who had been brought to America against their will starting in 1619. Music, we know, is a universal language. All cultures have their music, and it is through their music they do their healing, their teaching, their joyful speaking, and celebrating. The Africans, in their cultural lives, had music from sunup to sundown. The drum is the basis of African music. Now, though the Africans, when they were brought to this country, were unable to bring their instruments along with them, in their souls, they carried with them the rhythms and the melodies of Mother Africa. So once they landed in this unknown place with people with whom they had no familiarity, they still kept with them the richness of the African rhythms and the music. It is that contribution that has enriched this country immeasurably. And today, they say Black music is at the very base of global popular music. So we know to the enslaved Africans we owe a great debt for their creativity. As we talk today, I want you to consider two important ideas. Back in the 90s, I met a really outstanding doctor named Dr. Rebra Elliott Foston. And she said to me then that out of pain comes creativity. That one thought completely transformed my mind and made me realize that the African people who were brought here and traumatized and terrorized by being enslaved and treated very cruelly, out of their pain came amazing creativity that came out in their music as well as other life activities. But the music is probably the thing that has spread throughout the nation and the world in a most impactful way. There is one outstanding musician, since we're talking about Black music, that I want to make sure you know his name. He said this: though you may not be able to find our history in your history books, you will find it in our music. Now, the great musician who said this is a humanitarian and a musical genius. And this man, I think of him as the Black history and Black music history library for the world. His name, Quincy Jones. I had to bring along one of my favorite books about Quincy. This is the complete Quincy Jones, My Journey and Passions. Quincy Jones is one amazing man. And musically, he has been a part of so many genres of music, starting in the 1950s all the way up to now. Well, Quincy, like I said, told us that you may not find us in the history books, but you will find us in the music. So I'd say from the beginning of the time African people came here, their cry has been one for freedom. I want to share with you a little poem now that also adds to what I want to share with you today. This one is a poem about the caged bird. You've probably heard of Maya Angelou's book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. But I want you to know that Her phrase, I know why the cage bird sings, actually came from a poet who lived from 1872 to 1906. His name, Paul Laurence Dunbar. And Paul Laurence Dunbar had a poem called Sympathy, in which he first used the phrase, I know why the caged bird sings. I know what the caged bird feels, he even says. But in the last phrase of his poem, he says, I know why the caged bird sings. Ah me, when his wing is bruised and his bosom sore, when he beats his bars and he would be free, it is not a carol of joy or a glee, but a prayer that he sends from his heart's deep core, but a plea that upward to heaven he flings. I know why the cage bird sings. So I think that adequately applies to the African people who were brought here. They were, though we didn't always see them, they were in cages. They were not free. They were not free to be what they could be. They were not free to move about. They were not free to express themselves. But from within their encaged lives, beautiful melodies, marvelous music came forth that many people borrowed from and became even more creative. So we see, even with Paul Laurence Dunbar creating that line, I know why the caged bird sings. Later on, our sister Maya Angelou came up with a full poem called I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And of course, as I mentioned, her book we know very well, which talks about her life. This is what she says in her poem called I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. The caged bird sings with fearful trill of the things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. Ah, freedom. And that is what I believe is one of the underlying themes in African music throughout the years. There is a story about a people called the Igbo who were brought to this country. Unbeknownst to them, they were coming to be enslaved. And once they did find that out as truth, they decided that they were not going to be enslaved, that slavery was not going to be their life. So they say these people linked arms and they started to walk backwards into the water that had brought them to this land. And they say as they started to go into the water, as it rose from their waist to their chests, all the way to their necks, they were still singing, oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom, over me, and before I'd be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Freedom. That's what those songs, the songs that were made, even as the Africans were out in the fields working for people who treated them so very cruelly, giving them just enough to sustain life to get them to do the work of their difficult farming, they still created music to help them to bear that hard work under the hot sun and to bear the lash as well. So some of the first songs that were created by the enslaved were songs that they developed after they started to hear about the stories of the people of Israel, the Israelites who were enslaved just as they felt they were being enslaved. So they created the spirituals. And you can remember songs like, "When Israel was in Egypt's land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. He better let my people go." As they went on, they borrowed from the spirituals that they created, and they started to create songs of escape that they would use as codes to let people know when they wanted to try to run away, because there was no opportunity for them to just be set free. So they had songs that they created to give warning to others, letting them know different things that they could do, like go to the water, and that would throw off the slave catchers and their dogs, keeping their dogs from catching their scent so that they could hopefully use the water to help them get across to freedom. So they created songs like, "Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water if you wade in the water. Wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. God's gonna trouble the water." So, as time went on and freedom finally came, that was 1865 when they were finally set free, though it was freedom without very many helps along the way. There was no place for them really to go. So many times they stayed in the places where they had been enslaved, and slavery took on a different name. It said it was freedom, but they sharecropped, oftentimes getting only a portion of what they should have received in all fairness for the work that they gave. But they tried to make a life. The Gospels, we know, were created out of their cries out to God for him to help them and to give them strength to carry on. But sometimes it just got so hard. It makes me think, and I hear in my mind the voice of Mahalia Jackson. And I'm sure for many of those who were set free when they thought life was going to be better, they started to sing songs like, "Soon I will be done with the troubles of this world, the troubles of this world, the troubles of this world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of this world. I'm going home to be with God." Now, there's no way I could ever do it like Mahalia. Probably there's no one on the planet before or now who could do it like Mahalia. But her voice spoke the soul, sang the soul's cries of those people who found themselves so challenged even after freedom came. So the people sang, "For a long, long time, we've been living the blues. For a long, long time, we've been paying dues, been locked up and mistreated. overworked and often beaten for a long, long time. We've been living the blues, living the blues. Well, surely the descendants of the enslaved Africans were living the blues in the 1900s, the 1910s. In 1920s, they started to migrate from the South, where they had been so cruelly treated, and they started to migrate north under the hope that they would there have greater opportunity, more freedom, and most of all, a chance to get themselves and their children educated so that they could be citizens, proper citizens, with respect and dignity in America. Well, they came on up north and they had a new kind of blues. Well, they said, everybody wanna sing my blues, nobody wanna live my blues. And surely they started to take from the music that was created by these oppressed people who were so poorly treated throughout the country. And they borrowed little bits of the music and created something else, because that's, as humans, I think that's what we do. We see something that we like, we take it and make it into something for ourselves. But like they said, people wanted to sing their blues, but they surely didn't want to live them, and they did not have to. So life continued on, and there was still that great desire for freedom. Of course, I think one of the great expressions that they were able to do, expressing their freedom and their opportunity, came with the creation of jazz. They say jazz came out of New Orleans, and there was singing that was done, some amazing scatting that indicated a kind of freedom where they used the voice as an instrument, and the jazz music was recognized as another major music form that came out of America. And it was powerful, and it spread out all over the world, and people everywhere began to appreciate it and enjoy it. The civil rights movement came in the 60s, when the people, the descendants of the Africans, still felt like freedom had not come yet. In 1964, the great Sam Cooke, a young R&B singer, because of course the music kept changing and evolving, and the times changed, and new instruments and new activity brought out a change in the music. But he said that a change was going to come. And so the change started to come. And the cry for freedom came out in some of the songs that were sung during the civil rights movement. They started to sing songs like, ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round, turn me round, ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm gonna keep on a-walking, keep on a-talking, marching up to freedom land. So then you still hear the cries for freedom, the desire for just some basic dignity and opportunity. And RESPECT, find out what it means to me. RESPECT, take care of TCB. And we know that was the great dynamic gospel voice of Aretha Franklin, who set a standard in American music that cannot be defied. So we often wonder, when we think about the descendants of the enslaved, how a people could be so culturally dynamic and influential, but socially so ostracized and oppressed. It just doesn't make sense. But in spite of it all, we have those descendants of Africans with their music who broke down barriers. They made a way for more integration to occur in our country, throughout this country, and all over the world. They made, out of the appreciation for the music that they created, they made people come together to hear it. And their coming together enabled them to, in real life, be able to interact better. Now, rock and roll is one of those music forms that came out of the African musical tradition. And Bo Diddley, who was a blues artist, impacted a lot of young men who came over to this country from England, and they just really admired and almost idolized these blues musicians, Bo Diddley and Muddy Waters, Chuck Berry, so many great names. But music evolved again, took a new turn, and this rock and roll started a whole new way of being in the world. Now, there was still those cries for freedom. In 1968, about 4 months after Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated, James Brown came out with a cry that had never been heard. And he shouted, "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud." And he said it louder, "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud." Now, we know in the past there had been statements that were made that said, if you're white, you're all right. If you're yellow, you're mellow. If you're brown, stick around. But if you're black, get back. So for James Brown to come out with a mantra that said, "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud," it was just an amazing phenomenon. And a lot of times people say, well, why did you have to say I'm black and I'm proud? Because the black people of this country had been so devalued and mistreated and just scorned in every sense of the word. So it was a time to make those people rise up and feel a stronger sense of themselves and to take pride in who they were and what they had contributed. He had to say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. And so from there, things continued to evolve, and I think life began to get some better. There's still a ways to go, but I'm really proud of a particular song that came out in 1985. And again, we go back to this great songwriter, arranger, producer, who made some of the most amazing music with all sorts of artists. He assembled about 48 musical artists of the time and got them together to create a song that reflected our times. It was called "We Are the World." And for all of us, I think we recognize as Americans of whatever nationality we may be, we, in our diversity, we all are America, and we are the world, because everybody in the world has come to this country practically. So we represent the diversity of the world all in one place. And I think just as our forefathers and foremothers wanted with the creation of America, when we show that we can actually live together in peace, love, and harmony here, even in our diversity, then we demonstrate to the world that peace is possible on this globe. And so this song that says, "We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones to make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we'll make a better day, just you and me." So I think this could very well become the music of, this could become our anthem, a new anthem for America that actually reflects who we are as Americans in this world. We are the world. And we are the children. We are the ones to make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we'll make a better day, just you and me. Let's be the world. Let's have freedom for all, and let's let love reign. That's the message of the caged bird who sings, "Let freedom ring."
Production facilities provided by Access Fort Wayne. Learn more under the Explore tab at acpl.info.